All right, good evening. My name is Dark, and I'll be your caster for this evening for this Division C matchup between Maximum Thrust and Ginormous Jaegers. We're about to get started shortly. Both teams are in the lobby. We're going to be going to Sky Temple for the first game, selected by Maximum Thrust. We're going to be starting shortly, but while we get that going, let's take a look at the map select real quickly. So we did have Battlefield of Eternity and Braxis Holdout being banned out by Maximum Thrust, while Cursed Hollow and Towers of Doom were banned out by Ginormous Jaegers. And again, Sky Temple's picked by Maximum Thrust, so we'll be going there for game number 1. And it looks like we're gonna go in straight into the draft. Both teams readied up, and let's get going for game number 1. What is that? Emote. Oh, TwitchCon hype. I don't think I've seen that before. Welcome, Volatink. We do have the Stukov band coming out. Sky Temple, the map infamous for being one that you don't have to fight the opposing team if you don't want to. You just see a Brightwing being banned out. Brightwing continuing the trend of being, I think in Division C, yeah, the top popular hero with the most bans and or picks. At least in Division C. I believe it was like about 98%. Oh, sorry. 94%. 94% popularity, either pick or ban. And with good reason so far in Division C. And this is as of Saturday's stats. I haven't updated them since yesterday's. We did have a couple matches yesterday, but as of Saturday, but the stats updated that day, 68% win rate in Division C. We do have a Nazebo and a Chromie ban, and follow with a first pick Tyrael. Not a hero. Oh! And looks like we had a disconnect. It looks like we're gonna have to restart the lobby, likely, or I think it's just one left. Looks like there was an issue with the hat. Was it a disconnect, I believe? All right. I think we may have to remake. I know that there's issues before when someone drops out in the middle. Sometimes you have to remake the lobby. Oh, no, it worked. Right, I guess we're gonna go back through the first replay of the first few bans and picks. We can speed run through the first. So, yeah, I was about to say, anyways, Tyrael. Maybe a bit of a spoiler. Here was the first pick, then followed by the Ariel. So we're gonna have Ariel obviously with the buff, and then slight nerf, more of a prio, more of a viable hero that doesn't necessarily require as much of a battery. I mean, battery is still good, but now it's not highly dependent on having a very good battery. One of the weaknesses of Ario was if he didn't have a good battery, it was kind of rough. You just see Dahaka and Greymane now go through. Oh, I'd like to go along with a new Brax. So right away, Jaegers showing likely at least Siege. I mean, with a noob and Greymane, you're definitely doing Siege. And as I was mentioning right before we had the little issue with the connection, Sky Temple can be in the map that you don't necessarily have to fight the opposing team. Those who have kept track or have watched in the past when this was in competitive, you know, HCC, etc. This would be the map that you would take the team that you don't want to fight, because you can very much just play Siege and not even fight. But speaking of a map that's really good for ABBA, Maximum Thrust picking up Abathur to go along with an Artanis. So imagine that Artanis is going to have an Abathur hat most of the fight, or most of the match, I should say. And then we have Anduin and Falstad. So we have two globals on the side of Ginormous Jaegers being able to match up the Abathur. Although Abathur, this is probably arguably this and Curse of Hollow, one of the better maps. The idea is, if you're Jaegers, you're wanting to understand that you want to destroy structures as soon as possible and end it. And we have a Blaze. So we're going Tyrael, Artanis, and Blaze, and your ranged is Abathur? Question mark. So very heavy front lineup. But I guess the idea is likely going to be Judgment, right? With that, we'll see you in game number 1. Alright, welcome back. We start out with our introductions of both teams. We have Noise on the Tyrael, Vacuity on the Blaze, South on the Ariel, and then Dinosil on the Artanis. They did a very good job of beating each other. Yeah, Speed Pop on the or Speed Boop on the Ario, and Self on the Abathur. You have Ginormous Jaegers hating down with 9.20 on the Noob, Nemesis on the Greymane, Ogle on the Falstad, Classified on the Anduin, and Gambit on the Dahaka. And just as I kind of thought, a very classic Greymane, a Noob, at least start to the match where we have them focus and get a tower successfully. And as I did mention before, very much the key of this matchup as Falsa gets swapped to able to casually just walk away. The name of the game is going to be you want to win this match before you get to level 20. That's very likely where it might get very hard to kill that Tyrael. It might be very hard to kill that Artan, as we do see Tyrael going Ardent Restoration, so likely gonna be, quote, the Bruiser build. Did Blaze have with the Adrenaline Stim. We do see Artan is obviously going the stacking and Pressurized Glance for the Abba. As far as level 1s for the rest of the other team, we do see Valside going Frequent Flyers, so an auto attack build that maybe not the best against the Artanis, but good against the Tyrael. We do see both teams picking up their camps, engaging in some friendly exchange. Although if you're Jaegers, you don't want to stack the Artanis for free. We do see the swap on the Anduin, or not that the Anduin, the Greymane. We do see the boot back on the Anu, but members of Jaegers getting low. We do see, meanwhile, Dahaka and Blaze doing off-lane things, although with the Abathur, they do have the advantage of a global, right? Able to get soak. We do see Jaegers now moving over to get that mid-soak. I have to say, this is by far the best skin. I like the one with the hearts. That one's technically better, but one of the best skins in the game. Falsa does go over to start their booster camp. Pretty good timing. Maybe a little bit earlier, so it starts. You would want it to get going right about when the objective gets up, so it can start doing some damage. A very common strategy you see is the timing of that camp. Go a little bit earlier so that when the objective starts, the camp's already midway or so, and can start doing some damage to that. And speaking of damage, obviously, I imagine Abathur is going to be going Mule. But the last heroes obviously has Mule. Not the only hero now. Jaegers do prioritize that top temple, while Ariel was starting the bottom one or the mid one, but then opted to join the team. So they are clearing that camp and pushing their own. Greymane trying to get some push. You do see the Hawk getting a little bit lower, able to get its essence, but not going very low, and does go down in first blood, and a noob goes down again. So they were able to clear the opposing bruiser camp, and actually at that point you were fighting under that spell armor from that mage. Not what you want to be doing. Now they're focusing that top one, and obviously with the Abba, you don't want to be too split. So very good job on the part of Maximum Thrust, focusing one of these temples at a time. And Falsight getting really low, going to be chased down by the Artanis, and does get killed by the Artanis. Artanis a little bit extended, able to swap around, use that Unstoppable to at least for the moment, get away, and with the wave in the camp there, able to provide some coverage and not get targeted by the fort. They were able to get about half of that, so that's pretty good for that first of the temples of the shrines. You now see the teams focusing on the mid. Noob goes in for the engage, but not much of a follow-up. We do see the swap into the tongue. Not someone you want to swap into your backline, but we do see Greymane get low and get secured, and Artanis now with that Abathur hat starting to hurt, and is relatively early with actually already 130, 142 stacks. And now 158. It is 1% bonus on takedown, so reveal quickly that Artanis now is stacking up. We did see Falstad going down to try to get some of that soak, but if you're against an Abba, you don't want to be down, and they're already down level 10 to 8, so almost 3 levels down at this point. We do have bunker drop, sanctification, resurrect, and suppression pulse and monstrosity. So that means that pretty much Artanis is going to be hatted 90% of the time. We do see Falstad trying to get the bottom siege, trying to get something going. Blaze is maybe going to sniff it out. Nope. We do see a long rotation. Bunker is forced out of the Blaze. There comes Pulse out to try and help peel. Anduin getting rather low. Does get swapped. The Aurio's going to whip him back and will be going down. And a noob getting low. Able to get away. And so far... Oh! About 200 health. But the Blaze... You don't have Bunker Blaze. That maybe a little ambitious there. Although... And then... Oh, it's a misclick. You hate those misclicks. We do see the mule being picked, and so that's gonna negate a lot of the damage that they just did from that particular camp. And a noob getting really low. We do see Tens with Cocoon, as you just saw. Light Bomb, Isolation, Gust, and Curse of Bullet. Greymane going in on the engage. It looks like they're... Ooh, that swap was almost landing on the Falstad. Ario getting kind of low with the stun. And then very good Gust there to disengage. Not having a noob, you don't really want to be fighting that. And so you're... I mean, if you want to fight, you got to fight now before level 13. So see, at this point, Jaegers likely have to get this up. We do see the swap go through with a 4, or there's a 3 person's son, and then Greymane again going down. Falstad, and this time you don't have Gus getting rather low. The Artanis focusing. The Falstad does go down. Anduin trying their best to heal through the damage, but Artanis now at a 250 stacks, able just to walk away. Bunker does go out. He'll provide some armor, and Dahaka getting rather low. The chase on the noob does secure the kill, and Dahaka still, unfortunately, even though getting some aid from those towers, Artanis finally does go down. We do see Resurrect being used right away. So we think with a Resurrect and a Sanctification, that is a very hard team to kill if, you know, timed correctly. And Bunker. So you have Bunker, you have Resurrection, and Sanctification. That's a very hard Artanis to kill. Yes, Artanis did get selected, but you see, Artanis needs a Bunker, needs an Aureo Resurrect, and needs a Sanctification. And an Abba hat. So this is a very much team constructed to training wheels that Artanis. Yeah, and it's a stacking Artanis. And we do see the light bomb with the centrifusion, a little bit of overlap with the bunker, but now the Hawk and Danger having to waddle away, but might get low. Tyrael going with the chase down, but gets cocooned. Yeah, and on Sky Temple, this is a very... We have the ranged is Abba. Abba's the ranged. We do see Valsa able to go up here, but now you have to be careful. They are going to be collapsing on you. Luckily, it's not a centrifusion, but you're going to be... Oh, the swap actually saved the Artanis, and Artanis chunking that Falstad, and here comes that mule. So all that work Falstad sacrificed himself for, likely going to be in vain. Going to be repairing. Okay, what's the total amount? It is, yeah, 90 health for 40 seconds every second. So that's quite a bit. We do see maximum thrust now move to go and take that boss, and again, this hyper carry Artanis very much able to make quick work of that boss. The Hawkeye trying to get some of that soak. Now we see they're just trying to focus, and this is kind of what you have to unfortunately do. Even though level 16s are online, you have to be careful. I don't think Gus is about to be up, and they're trying to back out. I don't think they're going to be able to get out. They are going to be cut out, and this is not a fight you want to take. We do have Granny immediately being focused now, getting very low, trying to walk around that slow from the blaze, but now being stuck behind the holy ground of Tyrael. Grayman and Anduin go down. Falstad already used Gust, unable to peel. And Dahaka did come in, trying to harass the Oriole, but likely not going to be able to do much, able to use Essence to survive a little bit longer. But the Tyrael, and now the Artanis also has an Abba hat with the speed. So now you have a very fast Artanis, which is one of the weaknesses. After doing that swap, there isn't much Artanis can do to close gaps. And with that boss going down just now, it looks like they're going to be able to secure bottom at least. That Artanis is starting to take some damage, able to get away with that Abba hat. And 18 to 15 level advantage. And as I mentioned before, the map where you don't really have to fight your opponent. Maximum Thrust has been doing a good job of actually you don't see a problem with the entire team having to be dedicated to supporting one hero. Or you could just pick, you know, Bala by themselves. Sanctification does go out. The swap onto the noob, and Anduin and very quickly focus on the Ariel is getting low, and they are focusing. Will go down. I imagine they do have Resurrect. There was a cocoon on the Tyrael, but now the Hawker does go down. The Valsat trying to do their best to do some damage, but that Artanis with 440 stacks now, 450. Yeah, you don't often see an Artanis with 150 stacks at about 13 minutes. We do see now Blaze ushering in that wave top with one catapult. We do still have an ejective, but even with that, there's still potential of it not being over. Although with that Artanis in a hat right now, we do see the light bomb being used, but Anduin does go down. Falstad trying to do their best to kind of stop them, but very much game number one goes to Maximum Thrust. GG. And so, in a very interesting draft from Maximum Thrust, as she said, we saw the pretty much a full bodyguard of team drafted to kind of enable an Artanis. Artanis able to get 13 kills. Obviously, not surprising, it was a top damage. Although other team members did fine as well. I would like to see it, but my team doesn't believe. Oh. I will say this is something you don't see often. A pretty much no ranged type of team. Again, Abba was the range, and I guess Ariel was the range as well. Ariel did do well with the healing as well, and then, not surprising, Abba able to get top. So here are the talents while we wait for the next matchup to come up. Again, it was a stacking. Artanis did get to about 450 something stacks before the end. We didn't see Judgment, so that was surprising. I did think it was going to be Judgment, but we actually did see the more of a tank build. So we have the attack speed. So when the Abba wasn't there, because I think it doesn't stack anymore. It used to be that it did stack, and now it just goes to the greater of the two. Same thing they did with when it comes to armor and such, so it doesn't infinitely stack anymore. But sanctification, swift distribution, you very much had it, and then you obviously with the blaze being able to provide bunker, sanctification, resurrection, you had a team very much, and obviously with the Adreno Overlord being able to enable that Artanis. And although they did have quite a few tools to potentially deal with it, I think at that point you probably just want to cocoon the Artanis and then fight everybody else. Because if you think outside of Artanis, they don't have that much damage. So I think in those matches or in those fights, the cocoon I think went out to Oriole, which I think typically is what you want to do. But with no real tank, yeah, because you have Blaze and Tyrael, but you just cocoon the Artanis and then try to go for the kills and the other team members. But it's just not easy, right? Because if Blaze has Bunker, Tyrael has Sanctification, Ario, if you do kill her, has Resurrect. So it wasn't really an easy team to kind of select one target. But I think definitely cocooning the Tyrael would have been the play here. Let's see, there's map. Nope, no map yet. The Dahaka did go kind of the W build, which you don't see too much often. Did like the armor reduction, but maybe a little bit too little too late. Cocoon, Beetle build by the Anub. I think I will say that I think the auto attack likely was not the best choice here, especially into a Blaze and a Tyrael and an Artanis. You need a little bit more of that blow up. You were getting some of the auto attack from Greymane. Greymane did not have a fun time. I think Greymane and Anduin both had 6 deaths, I believe. Yeah, 5-6 deaths. And so I did say that this is the map where you don't have to fight the enemy team, and especially in the beginning, fighting and giving Artanis some stacks. It's almost like a butcher, right? You didn't want to be doing that in the beginning. 450 stacks in about 13 minutes. It's pretty quick. Obviously, we didn't call out 20 levels, but we did see light speed and hive mind at the end. So that was a very beefy team. 24-4. Meanwhile, we get waiting for the next. Let's take a look at the standings for a moment. Oh, there we go. It looks like we do have wait, oh, there you go. Yeah, it's rotating through. You have Jaegers at the bottom. Maximum Thrust also near the bottom too. So both teams looking to at least secure a win to move up in the standings. I believe we are having the top 8 in this particular league moving on to the playoffs. So as long as you are able to sneak in right to the big dance, kind of like March Madness, that's all that matters. So it's map picked by Ginormous Jaegers. And looks like we're going to be going to Volskaya. So guaranteed 30-minute map. You love to see it. Take a look at real quickly the map select. So we did have game number 1, Sky Temple, being selected by Maximum Thrust, and you very much can see they had this planned out. That's not something that you would on a whim kind of go, hey, let's draft all these heroes that we're gonna enable in Artanis and then don't select any ranged at all. So it looks like they were able to secure that particular strategy, and obviously to great success, getting game number 1. Now we're going to be going to Volskaya. I think Volskaya behind Braxis, probably of the pool of maps that are being played, probably the second most disliked map, I think. Looks like both teams are in. We're just going to be waiting shortly to get started. But Volskaya gets a lot of bad rap. I think mostly because the objective for the longest time was very useless. In the early iterations of this particular map, you would see teams literally don't even go for the objective. Wasn't really until maybe the third objective, which would be at the bottom, that's when teams actually would care about getting the objective, because then it actually started doing damage. But although recently, a few patches ago, they did try to buff the objective a bit to kind of incentivize teams, because you would see teams that literally would just say, hey, we're not even going to bother trying to get the objective and just going to push. That was a very common strategy. But with that, we are going to get going with our draft in game number 2. And I just said Toki did rate us the welcome to those who joined us earlier. My notifications are not showing up correctly for some reason. And annoying. We do see the Stukov and the Johanna and the Brightwing. I think in Division C, those are kind of the top 3. Oh no, Stukov is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 6th most. I mean, does Maximum Thrust just say run it back? Let's do another infinite stacking. They should have done it just for the fact that way certain people that I know have a unicorn example of things that only work. They work 90% of the time. They work 10% of the time. We do see the Varian and Anduin again being prioed by Jaegers. We did have the Vala. I don't think Vala's that high of a prio in Division C for some reason. Let me double check. 4th. Almost 80% popularity. I thought it was a little bit higher. 35% of the game's banned out. And then we do see a Thrall and Deckard. Probably one of Deckard's better maps because it's a little more easy to predict where your teammates are going to be. You can throw potions, obviously at level 20, and we do see that Tyrael ban. I'm surprised. I guess they figured we're not going to see that Artanis. I would argue that Artanis, because of all the enabling factors, was more of an issue. Like I said, likely last match, I think the Cocoon target always should have been Artanis. We do see a Hanzo ban. I do think probably, again, good map for Hanzo. Lots of angles for geometry to happen. Calculus. Trigonometry. We do have the next two picks. Imagine Bruiser. Maybe some DPS. And we get a Zarya. Interesting. So you're wanting to enable a hero with Zarya. I would think likely seeing some divey hero. Maximum Thrust probably going to pick their tank here. Deathwing and a Blaze, and now we see a main tank Blaze against this is now 2 matches in a row, and I've seen the main tank Blaze. I'm all for it. You don't see that too often. Obviously, Blaze has a very diverse kind of talent pool that can flex into either being a pure bruiser or be more of a tank. Deathwing though, so that makes it rough for Varian. Varian can't really taunt. And we see the Ragnaros. So interesting. I think maybe they were thinking about something more divey. Although with a very beefy lineup, they don't have too much of percent damage. I guess the Tacitor can talent into that. Ragnaros can do quite a bit of damage. It's still not ideal, especially into the Blaze and Deathwing. Well, with that, we'll get going for game number 2. See you shortly. Alright, welcome back to game number 2 on Volskaya Foundry, everybody's favorite map behind Braxis. We'll start out with our introductions for Maximum Thrust. We do have... Oh, we did have a sub. I didn't notice it right now. We have Zelv. You're gonna have to hate me for butchering your name. On the Blaze. Nice on the Vala. South on the Deckard. Dinocell on the Thrall. And then on the side of Ginormous Jaegers, 9.20 on the Varian, Gambit on the Zarya, Nemesis on the Tacitor, and Ogle on the Rag. So I imagine the key here now is getting to that Vala, but that's going to be very hard. Olga the Great getting very low now. Runaway being focused down by the Vala does get secured in his... But first blood, but shortly right after, a counter pick on Thrall. So both teams showing a little bit of excitement early on, getting some of that ARM out of the way. We do now teams moving into their rotations. Deathwing doing Deathwing things like dying and World of Warcraft Classic. For those who don't know, World of Warcraft Classic Cataclysm, the patch for Dragon Soul just got released a few weeks ago, and Deathwing got to die again. You do have both teams right away move to get their camp, and obviously this map being a little bit different because you have these fortification camps, including the one at top, the healing or support camp, and you'll see many teams often do strategies like give up the first objective and then just store up all these turrets and camps for maybe a big push on the second objective, or you know, on the third one. So something you do see, but it looked like the first one was used. And looking at some of the talents, we do have Taunt coming out, being focused on the Blaze, but a Blaze is pretty beefy. Able to use trait and get some armor, safely get away. We do have Deckard going with the rubies, which would be very good for that Thrall. Potentially Blaze as well. But you're not gonna help the Deathwing. Although if you're a Deathwing and you die, it's still the healer's fault, because they can't heal you. We do have both teams moving on to do their siege camp. With now that the Triglav Protector being buffed a little bit, teams are firing it a little bit more than before. Yeah, the Deathwing, the spine of Deathwing, although I do think Dragon Soul in general is fine, the spine of Deathwing is just the most just annoying thing ever. I just don't like the spine of Deathwing. Maybe it's because at this point I've done it so much trying to farm the mount that I just, even when you're overpowered, it's annoying. And we do have a 3-man stun coming through, but not much damage in the part, at least right now. We do have level 7s on both. Rag. Two raid bosses right there. Rag from Firelands and Deathwing and Dragon Soul, right? Except in Firelands, Rag being chased down by Vala will be able to get away. Rag in Firelands has legs, which just does not look right. We do see the stun on the Varian in a very bad spot, and those rubies able to help sustain the members of Maximum Thrust, and they are going to have to give up that first one. But even with the buff, I guess you can't let it go like before. But even then, you still see teams that kind of opt to say, while you're busy trying to capture, because it's a pretty lengthy time to channel the objective. Many teams say, well, while you're busy channeling, we're just going to push structures. So you still see that. We do see the stun on the Zarya. We only have one person in the Triglav, so now we have Blaze going in, beginning that siege and chunking members of Jaegers with that laser. And you see, even then, we barely got towers. Towers are a little bit out of place. Gets pulled by the Anduin now, and Jaegers are very prime to be stunned. We do have Deathwing come in, land on the Tacitor. It does take him down. We have Blaze try to get the stun, misses by a little bit, an inch, a hair. We do see Rag trying to keep up. And this time around, though, at least Jaegers actually have a lead in XP. This is probably their, at least in this matchup, the first time they have a XP lead. We do see the root landing on the Anduin. I guess when you have Rag, it's hard to fall down or fall back, right, on XP, especially at 10. If you go Lava Wave, you know, you just press R and you should always be within, at worst, a level. We have both teams getting their fortification. Oh, does he say that? I didn't. I don't think I a lot of times play with the sound off, or at least the voice lines off. And he says, Deathwing kills Rag, and Hotsy says, you will always be a tier below me. Yeah, Firelance reference to Dragon Soul. We do have the taunt on the... We do have tents online for both teams, and we do see Bellowing Roar, Rain of Vengeance, Stay a While and Listen, Sundering, and Bunker Drop. We didn't see Bunker Drop. We just saw right now Gravitation Surge. Warbringer, I guess, against the Vala could be a little more useful. Holy Word Salvation, I guess makes sense. There isn't really much a Light Bomb can maybe do. And do you have Archon? That level 20 Archon might be scary, especially if they're not able to get to that Tacitor. Did you see Zarya? Is Zarya? Oh, and our Rag is Meatball build. I just noticed that. Rag holding on to their 10, I believe, trying to make a decision. But I mean, again, if you're going for the team fight, obviously you do Sulfuras.
I'm starting up an exit.
Maybe that was the initial thought, but that Deathwing, even then, Deathwing and the Blaze made a kind of... Oh, you have the taunt on the Blaze. Blaze pops straight. We just see the new habits. The stun, 3%. We have Smash. Does come out. Thrall getting low. Rag. The pole, but not... Maybe, wait, what did he do? 3-4 person. Then Holy Word Salvation. Very good play for the Anduin. Holding it to the very last second to avoid any potential interrupt, because they do have quite a few tools that can interrupt that Salvation, and Jaeger's now taking advantage of that to do some structured damage. And you kind of see right away that you have Deathwing now fly in. Imagine gonna try to dissuade Breath. Right, getting a little bit low, but able to get away. With the speed, we have the taunt go out and the Vala, and Vala getting chunked, and actually will be going down from the Zarya's range. Yeah, very much. Light bomb into the Grav, into the Smash. We just see Sulfuras Smash being picked by the Rag. So, though doesn't stun the Deathwing, still does quite a bit of damage. So even the damage by itself is worthy. You don't always need the stun. Vala's not there. Oh, Rag's not there. I was gonna say they shouldn't be able to. Yeah. So as we can see now, Heavy. They do have 2 heals and a turret. I mean, I don't think you win this. Maximum Thrust has 3 items and can technically go collect another one if they really want to. We do see Jaegers now off to get their own toy. Deathwing trying to check if they're doing the camp. Did Zarya go unstoppable? Didn't go unstoppable. We have pain is temporary, which is fine. This is still going to be a rough fight. they have 2 heals and the turret. We see molten core being used now. Seems kind of early. We do see the turret being used. Grab. The heals do come out and smash. Gets the Vala rather low. Archon pop by the Tacitor. The interrupt on the Holy Word Salvation. With Deathwing flying in and uses the fear. Varian getting rather low. Tacitor in a very bad spot. Likely going to be going down, and second objective secured. And Thrall getting a little bit too hit. Does go down to the Rag. And I guess they figured it might have been rough to defend. I'm not sure if using the Molten Core that early would have been good. But I guess the idea is to use Smash with it. Rag getting rather low. I think at this point it does. The Dragolov character actually does quite a bit of damage now. It does hurt. Especially to heroes. I think it always did, but now it's a little bit more obvious. Maximum Thrust going to be able to get a 2-4. Potentially 3. I imagine they're not going to get a third one. With the Rag. Gotta be careful. And even with that, they do have level 16s before. We do see the Dorito stun, or Dorito root, come out, and Decker trying their best. This is a meatball build. Rag and Thrall does come in and starts chunking the Rag. Technically, we have Thrall, who's also in Dragon Soul, even though they're just, you know, in the mall the whole time, talking about the Earth and the Wind and Fire and Captain Planet. Very good sleep on the Varian, but a little bit too far away. We do see the siege, and they don't have an amazing siege. I mean, the Vala, obviously, they finally used that turret. They've been holding on until now, and so like we do have Molten Core now being used to push him back a bit. We have Grab Surge gonna land on the Deathwing. Obviously, not gonna do anything. Varian stepping up, smash, and hey, we just saw Rag from the tier below, right, take down the main boss of Kata. So yeah, even with without the stun, it does quite a bit of damage. Let's see, the initial damage is 480. That's, and in the center is 1200, and a Deathwing is a pretty easy target to hit in the center. Very big body box, and the 1200 damage is pretty good. See some of the banter between both teams. They're trying to get that another heal. We do have Deathwing now land. The grab now is actually very good, and the smash does land and secure the kill on the Vala right away. But now the Deathwing on the point. Obviously, a very good protect, but everybody's setting on the Deathwing, and people do not want to let that go. People are dying for the heal, and the heal gets grabbed by Jaegers, right? I guess there's no actual boss, but probably this is the closest thing to a boss pit on Volskaya. Typically you don't see people go all in for that heal, but I guess if you're Jaegers, you're just trying to get anything going, and right away they do have a camp and a wave. They're going to be able to secure their first fort, I believe, of the match so far. And they should be able to get to the second one rather easily. You have a Zarya, so it looks like they're opting to go bot. Maybe get... I mean, you can get bot actually too. Here's where I would like to have seen Jaegers just go down and take this. It's about half health. I mean, Rag can take care of the rest of the lanes, but I mean, you have a Zarya. I guess without in a Tasser, you can do quite a bit of damage to that. So you could have easily taken that. And taking that away very much would guarantee the Jaegers. We do have level 20s now for the favor of Jaegers, and see, take a look at what we have. We have Twilight Archon, of course. Glory of the Alliance. We do see, looks like Blaze is trying to get a little bit of push top. Try to get them level 20. Now we see them go under, and now they do secure that. Like I said, they could have done that earlier. We do have Blaze. I guess this is where not having Lava Wave is annoying. You do see Jaegers now try to take the turret, but without level 20, and they just picked it up. We do have heroic difficulty, rewind, and the upgrade of Holy Word Salvation. For maximum thrust, we do have Arrival of a God, Farfight Quiver, perfect gems. Interesting, you don't see that too much. Windrush and Burn Notice. I thought I just heard a murky sound. I realized it's one of these mounts. Yeah, that mount right there. That mount sounds like Murky when he gets out of his bubble. We do have Olgo picking up that top camp to help relieve some of the pressure. But if you don't want to be here, you don't want to. They see Rag is up there. You do not want to be here at all. They want to. They see you split. They want to fight you. Very good wall from the Tassador to kind of help prevent a potential. Especially you don't have shield wall. Variant's very squishy without shield wall. Rag is still dealing with the wave top, and this is fine. You just want to be careful of getting picked off. Maximum thrust can do a lot of damage real quickly with a Thrall, a Vala, and a Deathwing. So we do see that this time around, Jaegers have more toys. So now this is a rough fight. We do see now Molten Core being used, but with the upgrade, this does quite a bit of damage. We do see the Grav go out and miss. Rubies do go out, and I think they're just going to opt to say we're not going to fight. We're just going to wait out the Molten Core. I would say this is, of anything, this is probably the part of this map that I don't like. This particular bottom objective is the most annoying, but it looks like they're opting giving it. So this is a little bit different because at about 19 minutes, this Triglav actually does quite a bit of damage. So this is not your quote grandfather's Triglav, right? Grandparents' protector. It actually does quite a bit of damage at this point. I imagine they'll be able to secure this top, or bottom I should say, keep with it. It just kind of plays slow. On the flip side, if you're maximum thrust, you're trying to engage while you have a couple members in the Triglav, but we have Zarya being focused. And that Deathwing gets chunked very quickly, and opts to say, I'm kind of done for right now. Does step back to... And you still have about half timer on it, well over half health. You don't have to force this, just play slow. We do have Grab go out, and the Vala is cut out. And the hammer does land, but doesn't secure the kill. And Rag now in a very weird spot. Wait, did someone drop the heal item? Molten Core does get picked up by the Rag, and Blaze does go down. And Deathwing now in a kind of very peculiar spot, but Anduin in trouble, getting focused by the Vala, and Vala has that extreme range. Now kind of has a free-for-all to get everybody, and Rag trying their best to hide, and will opt now to hearth out. And are they going to be able to make it? Oh, the Sundering goes out right away. Tasser pops Archon. But, oh, 20 health. That Deathwing survives. But Rag, with a Rag up, they can't really do too much, especially with the heroic difficulty. Imagine are going to have Molten Core up in about 15 seconds. They're not going to be able to do much siege. And Zarya up, but they are able now to pick up their own. I think they dropped... Tasser dropped one of the turrets when they died. We have now heroic difficulty coming out. And a grab on the Decker. Very good attempt, but now Zarya in a rough spot. But yeah, if you're maximum thrust, you don't want to just be taking heroic difficulty Rag for no reason. It does hurt quite a bit. We do see rubies come out. And now we do have all members of Jaegers back up. And with that Vala in that extreme range, able to kind of just outrange the tower or the fort. Does use the stun on the variant to prevent a potential engage. We have the variant trying to get closer. We have Tasser completing that level 1. So now going to be hurting a lot more. We do see the engage on the Zarya, but now the sleeve goes up bunker and Sundering a little bit of missed timing or counter synergy, but it looks like it's going to work out. Tasser does get picked off. Varian was getting low, able to get back a bit, and we're going to be getting the bottom fort does go down, but with only one member, it looks like they're going to try and pick up. Oh, and the Vala able to pick up the... Yeah, Vala just with that range. And that's what I mentioned before, especially now. We have Molten Core back up. And yeah, you got to focus the Vala. I mean, Thrall is also an issue, but you do see the stun. Oh, and Varian trying to get low, but does get picked off. The Deathwing very low, does go down. The Vala able to focus down the core. Then game number 2, it goes to maximum thrust. GG. And a little bit of a different matchup as far as the outcome, with game number 1 very much a dominant showing for maximum thrust, but in game number 2, Jaeger's able to showcase a little bit of a fight, and for the most part, I believe most of the fight they did, or most of the match, they did have an XP lead. It looks like it was a little bit too little at the end, especially with maximum thrust able to get a few important kills and move on to get the bottom keep and then secure the victory. Let's see if I can get let's look at some of the stats. We did have Thrall and Deathwing and Vala all leading in damage, so they had a lot of damage. Thrall's, again, after that buff, is still kind of underrated. Very much a sneaky pick. They can do quite a bit of damage. As far as healing, Anduin and Deckard both did a good job. Anduin had some very good use of that ult. I think at least once it got interrupted. Obviously, they had many tools to do so. Looking at, I guess, the XP. Yeah, obviously, Rag, not surprisingly, even with that lava wave. But obviously, the key is that Vala and that far flight quiver with a 20% basic attack range increase and a 30% basic attack range also when at max hatred. So very difficult at that point to reach that Vala, and it showed that as we saw, Vala able to get a pick on Anduin twice, actually. Um, the NGS channel. What channel am I in?
I found you.
There you go. I always try to figure out what's a good channel to join because the coin toss channel is only for casters and captains, which makes sense. I guess that other channel right above is better. It's just sometimes so hard to see which are channels, I guess. Oh, I haven't minimized the chatter, but with voices. Makes sense. Why I have a bad time kind of finding them out. But anyways, with that, congrats on your 2-0 victory in domination. How's the team feeling?
It was good. We had to forfeit due to scheduling last week, so we needed a good pick-me-up, and we decided to play fun things, and the fun things won. So that's always really nice. You get to do both things.
Yeah. If you can walk me through that game number 1, very interesting draft indeed. So you selected map pick. So is this kind of you're doing this kind of thing?
Well, we've found that some of our like the people we play against have really good strats for certain maps, and they like have pre-planned silly things that are hard to counter, and nobody plays Sky Temple. So I was like, fine, we'll just do a big map and try to out macro people because we're pretty decent at that. And then they kind of gave us an opportunity to do something silly, and we're like, sure, let's do the silly thing. Hypercarrier Tannis, let's go. And it worked out a little better than we expected, honestly.
Yeah, and so when the last pick came through, and I'm like, oh, it's a Blaze, and wait, there's no ranged, and so
there was no range.
How are you feeling about that draft initially? Because I mean, that is a very different type of style of comp.
Let me remind. I'm trying to remember what they played.
They had a Dahaka, they had a Greymane, a Noob, Anduin.
That's right. So they were like super globally and very much wanted to fight. And so we needed to have something that would like fill in the things that we weren't fighting. So Blaze was good enough to be able to not get ganked. I don't think I died that game. I might have. But it allowed us to
Is it Artanis? Artanis? Did you play Artanis? I believe. No, you were playing Blaze, right?
I was the Blaze. Yeah. Dynasil was on our Artanis.
As I say, Artanis died once. I know for sure. And so, but even with all the tools,
so my job was to not lose the soap game to the double global, and then hopefully our death ball was better than their death ball because they didn't have like an enormous amount of burst that we couldn't like stop because a Greymane Falstad can do a lot of damage, but not to tanky things. And so we had the Artanis with extra shields, and nobody was really getting to the Ariel because Tyrael peeled for her and all that. So we had enough tools to stop them from doing what they wanted to do. And then we got to do fun things in the meantime.
Yeah, and so one of my teammates is very much a Artanis enthusiast, and they were very excited to see that an entire team was built on the idea of training wheels a Artanis into victory, but so now I
get so much attack speed at the end. It was funny. I got up to 80% attack speed.
That's what I'm saying. Like you literally have every single tool that enables an Artanis, and then I don't know if you need that much. You know, it was literally when you go bowling and you usually have the bunkers, right, to kind of make sure you get it. It was literally pretty much even further squished to make sure you get a strike every single time. That's very much what happened with that Artanis right there. So, but very much it very good strategy, and yeah, at the end that Artanis was chunking, got to 450 stacks in 13 minutes ish, and so that's pretty.
I think I called back at one point. I was like, okay, we got what we wanted. He was like, no, I'm killing more things, and then he got 2 more kills.
Like, yeah. And so pretty quick stacking game, and I was mentioning that Jaegers were very much wanting to end that match quickly before level 20, because then obviously 20 online with Artanis and then Abba, it starts hurting, right? But you were actually able to finish it rather quickly. And so then
I think
with
we got
that,
a couple of good staggers that helped us just go finish, and we got the keeps really low, so the objectives could just wipe through them. So we were able to not overstay our welcome and get wiped like idiots.
yeah,
Nice.
and so it worked out. And so now moving on to game number 2, this time not being selected by Jaeger. So were you thinking of running it back with that comp?
I mean, so we sort of thought about it, and then the Zarya was like, "Oh dang, they're gonna wombo us," and so that comp like, "No, we can't do that because we'll get obliterated." And then they wound up with like an overabundance of CC, but not a lot of stuff to kill the Vala if they can't get to Vala. So we're like, okay, we're just gonna make a wall that they can't run past to keep her as safe as possible. Because Tassadar could hit her every now and then, but Tassadar's like not gonna 100 to 0 a Vala. And so they had enough beef in front of them that we decided to just make a better beef wall than they could, because the Deathwing can just fear everybody away if they get a good wombo off. And I think I got wrecked by a really well placed Rag ultimate from his Molten Core. That props to that guy. That was a good shot. I was like, I'm out, guys, and then I wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, Molten, the Sulphurous Hammer does quite a bit of damage, especially at Deathwing. You're a pretty nice, juicy target to kind of land that on, because it's kind of hard for you to dodge that, right?
Yeah, there's no dodging it as Deathwing unless you. Yeah, there's no way. If he can push the button in the right way, you're dead.
Yeah, and so very much that wasn't going to happen, and so very much in that particular. So I was talking about some of the strategy when it comes to this particular map, because now with the actual update to the Triglav Protector, people actually now try to get it. And so was that your initial thought? Like, we're going to go actually play the game the way it's supposed to be played? Because we see some strategies on this map where it's, okay, we're not even going to try to do the objective, we just push. And so what was your approach towards this particular map? A map that a lot of people hate.
Yeah, I actually really like Volskaya. My go-to was I was going to try to do a Mercenary Queen Sylvanas, and then when they did their wombo thing, I was like, nah, I don't want to play a squishy thing. That sounds awful. But once we had what we had, again, they were sort of deathball-y, so our goal was not to like 5v5 over the point and try to have someone on it if we could get it for free, and then always be pushing, because we knew Rag was always going to be pushing. And he got a lot of free soak, I think, when we were fighting over the top objective, but we got 2 or 3 kills with a couple of good setups, so it wound out to where we didn't get too far behind. And then we had to completely give them an objective late game, because we didn't get 20 until they had too much like percentage or whatever stacked up.
Yeah.
So everybody was a little bit nervous when we were giving a level 21 Triglop late in the game. But
and
we were able to stall it well enough.
I did mention that at level 20, it is actually can end games now. It's not like this is giant robot that just tickles your fort for like, like 50 HP. It actually hurts, and it actually chunks heroes. I think on Deathwing, I saw you land, and then you ran away, lost like 50% of your health.
Yeah. I got to do it twice though, because of the cooldown reduction. So because they were sticking close enough together, that I hit, and I basically had my Z back immediately, and we did whatever we did, and then reset and went for round number 2, and they'd used all their buttons, so they were just QWE at that point, and we still had some extra things to make it work, and we were able to push them off. And I think we got a kill that kind of staggered towards the
the Vala, which becomes a Chromie at level 20. Was able to chase down the Anduin twice actually late game, and that very much helped secure. But maybe towards the last sequence of the match, you're in position to push the bottom keep, and so what's the comms going on there? Like, what is, because that's always a very difficult kind of spot of the game. Do we go in for it? Do we just back off and try to play for the next objective? What was the comms like in the decision making?
We knew with that many people dead, we had to get a keep, and we had a good enough comp to go ahead and get the camp with the gun right away, and so the call was to get the gun and then immediately go to the keep. And Val was like, "No, I'm shooting the wall." So then we had two really slow people get the gun and then get there. But it wound up getting to where we had enough pressure where they had to put themselves in a slightly dangerous spot to try to defend the keep. Which I think if they probably would have just given the keep and saved the core, that they might have been able to push us off. But they stepped up a little bit too much, and Vala got a pick because I think Blaze got a stun or something random. I'm not really sure what happened.
I think it was a stun on the Tassiter.
Yeah. So our goal was to make them make another mistake, and then we were able to capitalize on that and move forward. And once we had an extra one dead, we were like, yeah, let's just hit core and win the game.
Yeah, at that point it was kind of difficult, even with a molten core upgrade rag, which makes it a little bit more difficult, but you were able to overcome that and very much secure. Looking at the standings, it looks with this domination that brings you up now to 8th place, I believe. Looking at the other standings, looks, unless some other match happened that I don't know of, it looks like this would bring you to 8th place and overtake License to Kill. Actually, no, this would bring you up to either 6th or 7th, because this would be 4. Oh no, it would be 4 points. So it would bring you up to. My math is not mathing right now. So it would bring you up to 8th place. And so you did mention you had to forfeit, unfortunately. But what is your kind of approach to the last few games as we near the end of the season? Are you just trying to make sure you're able to sneak into the playoffs and then anything goes, or what are you?
This is our first time in Div C because of the way the rankings work this season, and we're like just supremely disgruntled at like mushing the East and the West Coast because scheduling stuff is a total nightmare this season.
Yeah.
So we're doing our best to like show up to games because everybody's like, we want you to play at 5:30, and I'm like, what? Get out of here! We're coming at work, and so we're just seeing who we can have show up on a given day based on the time that the other team can do it. So we're just going to take it 1 week at a time and keep doing fun, silly things. And if we make it to the playoffs, then we'll get serious again and then see how far we can push it.
Well, I think that's all that is for me as far as questions. I guess I'll leave it up to you, the floor, if you have anything to say as far as shout outs to close out our cast.
Thank you very much for casting. Always fun to see someone else's opinions of the foolish choices that we make, so we can go back and critique ourselves with someone else's, voiceover of our process and everything. I would like to give MVP for Vala for chasing down those couple of kills, because I think that game could have lasted a really long time with the rag, and the staggers helped us get in a position where
I did say that we were going to be a 30-minute match, and not quite, but I was ready for a 30-minute match because Volskaya matches are very notorious for that.
It was 24, and we'll give us a little bit of a credit, but Rag did a good job stalling the game, which is part of his job. So, but thanks very much for casting. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. And so again, thank you very much, and good luck to the rest of your season, and hopefully maybe cast a few other games in the future.
Indeed. Thank you, sir. Have a good night.
All right, have a good one. All right, with that concludes our cast for this evening. It doesn't look, there's no other matches. I think it was Toki's game that ended our cast before us, and those were the only 2 matches today that were slotted. And so with that, I guess I'll leave you off with a send-off. Thank you again very much for joining us this evening. Again, 2-0 domination, maximum threats over the Ginormous Jaegers in Division C. My name is Dark Knight. Thank you very much for joining me this evening. I'll leave you off. I don't think there's anybody else that can pass you off, but for those of you who are interested in sticking around, I will pass off to another HOTS raid to support some of the other streamers who are still streaming this particular game. But otherwise, thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.